Welcome into BMOC's Bet Buffet, where we bring in Jeff Nadu. Find him on Twitter at Jeff Nadu to go over 4 college football selections that he's got against the odds makers this weekend. So let's bring him in. Jeff, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing great, Drew. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. Excited about a big card of college football. You're starting off on Friday night with a big one in the Pac-12. Washington versus Stanford. This one's 10:30 Eastern kick on FS1. Looks like we got Washington laying 5.5 at BetDSI, -6 pretty much everywhere else on SBR odds right now. 44 the total at BetOnline, 45 pretty much everywhere else. How you betting this Pac-12 matchup Friday night, big man?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting spot here for Washington. They come into this game ninth. I mean, they're really no room for error for the Huskies at this point. And it's Drew, I think we have to give them. I know they have a loss, but I think it's important to mention how great of a job Chris Peterson's done with this team, particularly on the defensive side. I mean, they lost 3 of their top 4, three amazing secondary players, and they've come right back and just had the same elite defense that we know them for, giving up just 11 points per game. The big key when you play Stanford is, can you stop Bryce Love, the Heisman Trophy candidate? I don't see any reason that Washington can't. Washington has the third highest rushing defense, third best rushing defense, giving up just 2.58 yards a carry. And Drew, they've only given up 3 rushing touchdowns all year. So they've done a great job of stopping the run. And they're actually, Drew, number 1 in total defense in the country. So it just goes to show how much of a job they've been able to do coming back this year and really just kind of picking up where they left off. Washington's also 6-3 against the spread this year, scoring 40 points a game. I look for their offense to also have some real success and basically feed off the defense. Jake Browning continues to really just do his thing each week. And concerning part for me, Drew, is not only the run defense, which for Stanford has had trouble all year. They got to contain 2 really good running backs in Levon Coleman and Myles Gaskin. They also in their secondary have had a little trouble, Drew. Their best corner, Elijah Holder, out for the year. They gave up 337 pass yards last week to Luke Falk. I'm concerned about them in this game. I know they played well. I've been impressed overall, but they've really watched and do a lot of things that I think are really going to trouble the Stanford Cardinal here. I think Bryce Love could have one of his lowest outputs of the season, and when he doesn't play, i.e., look what against Oregon State what happened. They're just not a very good football team. So for me, Washington will take him out of the game. I think getting under a touchdown here on the road, it's not ideal, but I think they get the job done and keep it moving in the Pac-12.
On to the Saturday slate. We got a 2 p.m. kickoff, MTSU versus Charlotte. Charlotte, one of the worst teams in FBS. However, you might be going on them. Maybe a buy opportunity. Not sure, big man. Looks like MTSU's laying 12.5, 49.5 the total at BetDSI, 51.5 the total at 5 Dimes. So opinion on the total here. Want to shop around on that. This one on ESPN 3. How are you betting MTSU Charlotte, big man?
Now, Drew, I've never personally met you, but I think you and we've done a lot of work together. I think you kind of know the kind of guy I am in the capping business, let's say. Why on earth would you think I'd be on Charlotte in this game? Come on, Drew. No possible way. I'm actually going to make some pretty good reasoning here for Mississippi, Middle Tennessee State. It's been a tough year for them, Drew. I had high hopes for this team. I mean, coming back this year, Brent Stockton was back. Their high-level receivers, Richie James, Ty Lee, they were all back. Defensively, I thought they got a lot better. But then Brent Stockton went out, Drew, and really the season has kind of been lost. But it's not over just yet. They still have the ability to kind of right the ship here. They have 3 games left. You can get to a bowl game with 2 wins here. And I think they started this weekend against a Charlotte team that I think you and I both noticed is incredibly poor. Not only is Klug playing, which for Charlotte, that's a boost, but I'm not sure it's going to matter. I mean, they're among the worst offenses in the country. Only UTEP and Kent State have been worse. I think this is finally the game, kind of building off the game against UTEP. UTEP and Charlotte are very similar football teams, Drew. Middle Tennessee State finally has their quarterback back. And not only is he a great quarterback, but he just makes everyone around him better. Everyone has a mutual kind of cohesion with him. And Drew, one of the big problems that Charlotte has, among many, is they're one of the worst teams at getting pressure on a quarterback. They're among the worst in the country. I think that's going to be tough, tough sledding for them. You can't let Brent Stockstill just sit back there and pick you apart. I think this is a game where, like last week, they really just blitz a bad Charlotte team and move to 5-6 and or 5-5 and really kind of get 500. The fact that they're 500 possibly after this win, it's pretty impressive. Charlotte, you really just have to defy all odds and just bet against them every week. I've been impressed with what Middle Tennessee State's done defensively, and I think it's a team with just, really no athletic prowess on the offensive end. I think they really hammer them here. I think this is like a 41, 13 type of game. I think 12 and a half is just too low.
Yeah, big man. I don't know what I was thinking. I mean, betting the Charlotte 49ers, that's a tough one. So laying the 12.5 with MTSU. On to the 3 p.m. kicks. We got Wake Syracuse, an interesting one in the ACC. This one opened Syracuse -3.5 at the Carrier Dome. Has since moved to about pick pretty much across the board. However, BetDSI still hanging Q's -1. Some opinion on the total as well at SBR odds right now. Looks like we got 63 as the total at Bet Online and 65 as the total at Heritage. So 2-point move there. Want to shop on this total if you're looking to bet it. How you betting this one in the Carrier Dome Saturday, big man?
Yeah, the movement that you mentioned is interesting. I mean, that looks like sharp money, I would imagine, betting Wake here. But as we've talked about Drew time and time again, sharp money is not always correct, especially in college football. I've been impressed with Wake. I think what they've done there under Dave Clawson's pretty impressive. I mean, they've become kind of a really tough out, and they've been really gutsy. But I think Syracuse has been even more gutsy, Drew. I mean, Eric Dungy to me is one of the toughest quarterbacks I've seen in some time in the country. I think at home here, they're really in a good position. And they've had a tough schedule. They have 4 wins, but they're kind of in the seat to really do something here. They have winnable games coming up, Boston College, and even this one against Wake. I think it's important that they get a win here. They've actually won and covered 5 of 6 against Syracuse or against Wake. I'm sorry, and they've been good in conference this year. Drew Syracuse 4-0 against the spread. You're really not necessarily laying a 6 or 5 here. You basically just need them to win in this spot. And like I said, as you get later and later in the season, I mentioned it on our roundtables. You look to teams like this that know that they cannot win a tournament or a title game or anything. The goal is to make a bowl game. And for a team like Syracuse, Babers' first couple years here, bowl games are important. It would be a sure shame if some of the wins that they've had, beating Clemson, if they don't get to a bowl game. I think they get it started this week. I like Wake. I think they're a gutsy team. I just think Syracuse is a little bit better. I like what they've done ATS. I'm going to go with Syracuse here to outduel Wake here and get a win and step one closer to a bowl.
And big man, on the 3:30 slate, we got one in the Big Ten, Iowa, Wisconsin. Wisconsin laying 11.5 at Chris, 12.5 at Penny, 46 the total. Interesting one here in the Big Ten. How are you betting it?
Drew, this is a really fascinating game for me. I know a lot of people look at this and be like, why the hell would I want to bet this game? Why do I want to watch it? But as you know, Drew, I'm a big soccer fan. I bet a lot of soccer. And usually in soccer, for many teams, not lately, but usually, the idea is to score a goal or two and set up shop defensively and not make any mistake, get away with a win. I got to be real, Drew. I think that's Wisconsin's goal in this game because I'm going to throw in why I think in a minute. But let me get to Wisconsin. Not a lot of room for error here. They're the last team in the Big Ten with much chance to really do anything. It's really going to be a tall order that Iowa goes in here and wins, especially off a big win against Ohio State. But Iowa is a great defensive team. I think it's going to be hard for Wisconsin to score on them. I don't think they're going to go in and put 40 points on the board here. You look at the last couple games between these two teams, 10-6 and 17-9. They're usually long, boring, drawn-out games that don't see a ton of offense. Wisconsin is an elite Drew defensive group. I believe they're the best team in the country on third down defensively. They just get off the field. They make it very difficult to score against. I don't expect I would have anywhere near the kind of output they had last week, especially on the road. You also couple in the fact, Drew, of you look at the weather report in Madison on Saturday, a 90% chance of a wintry mix, rain, sleet, kind of a messy a game. windy, 13 to 20-mile-an-hour winds, 38 degrees. It's going to be raw, windy, wet. I don't think these are going to be great or ideal conditions for a ton of scoring. I've actually been on a couple unders in the Big Ten recently, 44, 40, 42. I've been on the right side. I've unfortunately just lost because of overtime. Overtime's hurt me. I don't know that we're going to see it this week. I think this is a long or kind of a slow down, boring type of football game where I see Wisconsin scoring, getting up in this game, and really just playing damage control. I'm not trying to give up big passes or things like that. I think this is like a 24-13 type of game. I'm going to go under the total in this game.
And big man, you said 90% wintry mix with 15-mile-an-hour winds?
Yeah, not ideal weather, Madison, this weekend.
Man, yeah, that has me thinking more maybe like 9-6, something like that. So I like this
Hey, I'd
under.
be fine with it. Yeah, I'd be
Yeah.
fine with it. I mean, I actually want to make a quick point, Drew. A week or two ago, I was on a total between Northwestern and Michigan State out in Evanston, and the total was 41, and it was really windy, cold. It was an ideal under spot. I hit it perfectly. It was a perfectly placed bet. It was 10-10 going into the fourth quarter. Um, some stuff happened. They ended up making it 17-17. They went to overtime. I've been on the right sides of these totals. I've just gotten a little unlucky. I think I finally get to redemption here with a really good under. 11 of 17 in this series have gone under. Two of the last two. I mean, they've just been under trenders. Look for like you said, a 17-10, 24-10, something like that. I think we see a nice under here.
All right. So big man on the under of 46 right now, pretty much across the board. In the Iowa-Wisconsin game, we also got Syracuse at Pick'em at home over Wake, MTSU minus 12.5 versus Charlotte, and the Friday night game, Washington minus 5.5 at BetDSI, also bookmaker over Stanford. So big man, we got 4 games here. You're 21-22 overall on the season with few weeks left in the regular season plus bowl season. How do you feel about betting the end of college football compared to the beginning of college football? Do you usually have more success at the end and bowl season, or the other way around?
I try to have success always, Drew. Had a couple of tough weeks lately, but I think in a lot of people, your personal handicapping, you hit a wall at some points. The great thing about college football is it's a long season. There's bowl games. I actually am a big bowl fan. I actually remember you doing videos with SBR with Peter Loshak, a couple years ago, where we were just killing the bowl seasons. I like the bowls. I'm a big fan of them. You have some really amazing situational handicapping there, Drew. You know, just travel kind of situations. And I love that because my goal is to just find information out about stuff, which I know you know. So I definitely look forward to the end of the season, but you really got to make sure you're tiptoeing because this is the season where everything begins. All the seasons kind of coerce into one, and you got to really be on your toes and not just bet stuff because you like it. You really got to do your in-depth research. And I would say I prefer the end, surely.
Yeah, me too. Unlike any other sport, like handicapping bowls is very unique. And also with college basketball going on. I know you probably know college basketball better than anybody that I know anyway. What about handicapping early season college basketball? What do you have for the listeners to maybe know about?
If, in any betting angle, my favorite thing to cap is out of conference college basketball and conference tournaments because you kind of have a mix. And with the in-depth research that I do on every team, it allows me on a Friday. So this Friday coming up, you have, I mean, a ton of games. I mean, a ton of them. You have teams playing D2 teams. You have all sorts of stuff. And it's interesting to kind of see the dynamics between like a Bucknell and a Monmouth. Like, I'm excited for that game. I can't wait for that game this weekend. Just kind of the early on, just the sheer talent discrepancies you have, Drew, between a Pac-12 team and a SWAC team or a Pac-12 and a MEAC team, or just knowing that you might have a team out of the Southland Conference, like a Stephen F. Austin. That's a pretty good basketball team. You give them 22 points on the, at home or on the road, even against a middling MAC team. You got to know that those are good spots. And I just think I have a little bit of a leg up on the bookmakers as well because I'm going to go ahead and guess a lot of them don't see a lot of these teams. So, for me, it's just a great way to really just delve into it and just I can't wait to see the lines and kind of just getting out ahead of situations. We have all these probes this year and people sitting out and are ineligible. I just think I have quite the advantage because I actually sit here and I know exactly who's playing and who's not.
And big man, what about coaching changes? Are you on top of those? And also from a totals perspective, do you think like an assistant coach under a head coach takes a new job? Does he also take those kind of pace metrics, how slow or how fast they may play, to that new job? Do you bet totals much?
Well, I don't necessarily bet them too much, but I think it's important to make, to definitely know, and that's why in all my previews that I do that I've done, I think it's important to have capping strategies that you look for. I look for teams that rebound the basketball well, teams that don't turn the ball over. A team like Michigan, Drew, I'm very high on this year for the sole reason of they remind me of Bo Ryan's Wisconsin teams. They don't turn the ball over. They're extremely smart. They're disciplined. I love teams like that. They might not be the most talented team, but I think your point is interesting about coaching strategy. You have a team that might have promoted someone within. You have a team that, like an Indiana, that went out and got Archie Miller from Dayton. You have new guys coming in, and then you have a team like a San Diego State that basically seasoned Brian Dutcher to basically take over for Steve Fisher once he left. The interesting part about Brian Dutcher is he's instituted a whole new offense. So it's just and I keep trying to bang into people's heads. Do not jump into college basketball without doing research. Don't just jump in and say, well, you know, I liked LSU sucked last year, so I'm just going to bet against them every week. It's not a smart idea. The difference between college football, 128 teams, of which 70 are thrown into our face weekly. In college basketball, there are 351 teams, a stark comparison. So, you know, if you have the time, you can do pretty well, I think, in college basketball.
And big man, the San Diego State thing, just real quick, the Aztecs losing their head coach. I know that they were a big defensive team and kind of slower pace, if I'm not mistaken. Will the new coach still implement that? Or you say a new offense, does that mean more up tempo?
They're always a very good half-court defense. They're always almost unscore. It's very difficult to score against them. But no, they are going to be more up-tempo. That means they're not going to just sit in the half court and try to find a shot and isolate people. They're going to try to run. They're going to try to, be more up-tempo. So they're a team that is a totally different team. And it's really just about going out and finding a guy like a Mark Ziegler, who is a beat writer at the San Diego Union Tribune that writes fantastic articles that really is at practice every week. Drew, I actually had a score, and this was never reported out to you or anyone else. But by following beat writers, I was able to find out that in an exhibition game a couple weeks ago, San Diego State absolutely dropped a hammer on UCLA in an exhibition game. It was closed to the public. No one knew it went on. It was very tough even finding out the score. They dropped 98 points in that game. They're going to be very good offensively. And like always, that's not always true from years past. They've struggled to score from years past. They haven't had go-to scorers. They're a totally different team. You have to find people that know what they're talking about, that are close to the programs. Most schools have them. So use them to your advantage. Keep everything up in your head. Write things down. I mean, Drew, look at this notebook. I have tons of these, just with tons of info. Every page has a purpose. Every page has info that's important to me. So, it's just referencing back and being kind of organized.
Yeah, man, great information, great betting information. Speaking of that, I know you and Breadman did a video series kind of every Saturday before the huge college basketball slate. Are you doing that again this year?
Yeah, we're actually I know Zach's getting some things together, and I actually hope we are. I know Donnie was involved with it at some point. Breadman and I started it. It was basically a show dedicated to just taking questions, rapid fire. What do you think of Central Michigan today? What do you and I enjoyed that. It's for me, it's a lot of those teams I'm not betting, but if I could provide and help you with information, I would love to do that. So yeah, I'm hoping we can continue to do that. It's a lot of fun for me to do stuff.
Yeah, it was one of my favorite shows on SBR. So I really hope you do it again this year. And look out for Big Man on Campus's conference previews. We're releasing them today, tomorrow, the next day. So
Drew, you're a big shot down at SBR, so maybe you can make that happen. I'd be appreciative.
Hey, I'm just low man on the totem pole, man. Just doing my day-to-day activities here. But Big Man, dude, it's been fun. Good. Best of luck this week. Anything else before we close it out?
Um, Free Meek Mill. That's all I'll say. Thank you, Drew.
All right. This is BMOC's Bet Buffet. Best of luck this week, man.
Hey guys, thanks for tuning in to our channel. Now we've put a lot of work into producing all these free videos, so please help us out and keep all our content free for you forever by simply liking, sharing, commenting, and subscribing. Now, not to mention, a visit to our industry-leading website will warm the hearts of all our SBR employees, especially myself. Now, the links are over there to the left, so do check those out. Thanks for watching.